Imagine you are already living in the abundance you seek. Picture the wealth you desire as if it were already a part of your life. Feel the freedom, the comfort, the ease that comes with financial abundance. How do you feel in that moment? Are you filled with peace, excitement, or a deep sense of security? Hold on to that feeling for a moment. Now understand this: that feeling, that state of mind, is the key to unlocking the doors of wealth and prosperity. Wealth is not something that exists outside of you. It does not reside in a bank account, a paycheck, or the possessions you accumulate. Wealth exists within you. And the moment you recognize this truth, you begin to realize that the power to manifest it lies entirely within your own mind. To manifest wealth, the first step is to recognize that the world around you is a mirror of your inner thoughts, assumptions, and beliefs. Your outer world, your experiences, are a direct reflection of what is going on inside your mind. The idea that the physical world is separate from your thoughts is an illusion. What you believe to be true, what you assume to be possible, will eventually become your reality. This is not some abstract concept or wishful thinking. It is the natural law of creation. The way to manifest wealth, then, is not through constant striving or trying to manipulate external circumstances, but by changing the assumptions you hold in your mind. The law of assumption tells us that what we assume to be true will inevitably become true. If you assume the feeling of abundance and wealth, if you live in the state of having already achieved what you desire, the outer world must adjust to reflect that assumption. You must first be what you desire to become. The secret to manifesting wealth lies in assuming the feeling of being wealthy before the physical evidence has arrived. This is where many go astray. They wait for the money to appear, they wait for their circumstances to change, and they wonder why nothing shifts. But the secret is to assume the feeling of having wealth now, not later. This is a fundamental shift in consciousness. The world around you cannot change until you first change within. The moment you begin to assume that you are already wealthy, you begin to create the conditions for that wealth to manifest. Wealth does not come from external sources. It comes from within you. You must first feel wealthy in your mind and heart before the world can reflect that feeling back to you. This is the key to attracting money and abundance. Your feeling, your assumption, and your belief in your own power to create. How then do you assume the feeling of wealth? It begins with imagination. Your imagination is the creative force that shapes your world. It is through your imagination that you can bring anything into existence. Begin by imagining yourself already in possession of the wealth you desire. See it clearly in your mind. Picture the lifestyle you wish to live, the home, the possessions, the freedom. Feel the emotions that would arise from having all of this already. Imagine the joy, the security, and the excitement of living the life you dream of. Let these feelings fill you completely, for it is through these emotions that you begin to change your state of being. The key to successful manifestation is living in the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Do not wait for the physical evidence to show up before you believe it is possible. The physical world always follows your internal state. If you assume the feeling of wealth and live as if it is already a part of your life, the world will soon reflect this assumption. This is not an act of pretending or wishing. It is the natural law of the universe at work. Your inner assumptions create your outer reality. If you want wealth, begin by assuming that you already have it. The feeling of wealth must precede the manifestation of wealth. As you continue to live in this assumption, remember that the universe is always responding to your state of being. You are not simply wishing for something external to happen. You are embodying the feeling of wealth itself. This embodiment is what attracts the wealth you desire. It is not enough to merely think about money or to wish for it to appear. You must feel as if it is already yours. The emotions you experience when imagining yourself wealthy are the creative force that brings that wealth into your physical world. One of the most powerful tools in manifesting wealth is mental rehearsal. This is the practice of vividly imagining yourself living the life of your dreams. See the details of your wealth in your mind's eye. Feel the emotions that would arise from living that life. The more you engage in mental rehearsal, the more real the feeling of wealth becomes. Over time, the feeling of being wealthy becomes so strong that it begins to feel as if it is already a fact. When you reach this point, when you are living in the feeling of wealth, the outer world must begin to reflect this new inner state. Your imagination is the key to unlocking your wealth, but there is another important aspect to this process: faith. You must have faith in the process and trust that your assumptions are powerful. This is not about relying on external circumstances to prove that you are wealthy. This is about trusting that your inner assumptions are creating the conditions for wealth to appear in your life. Faith is the unwavering belief that what you are assuming will come to pass. The stronger your faith in your own imagination, the faster your desires will manifest. Manifesting wealth is not about forcing or striving. It is about aligning yourself with the energy of wealth, which begins with your thoughts, feelings, and assumptions. When you live in the feeling of being wealthy, when you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, the world around you will shift to reflect that assumption. The universe will bring you opportunities, ideas, and circumstances that align with your inner state. It is through this inner alignment that wealth will flow into your life. As you continue this practice, remain patient. Understand that the physical world always takes time to adjust to your inner state. Trust that the wealth you desire is already on its way. Keep assuming the feeling of wealth and know that it is inevitable. The moment you assume the feeling of having what you desire, you have already set the wheels of manifestation in motion. In conclusion, wealth is not something that comes from outside of you. It is an internal creation that begins with your assumptions. By assuming the feeling of being wealthy, by living in the state of the wish fulfilled, you align yourself with the energy of abundance. The universe will always respond to your inner state. And as you continue to live in the assumption of wealth, you will begin to see that wealth manifests in your external world. The secret is simple: change within, and the world will change around you. Imagine yourself standing in front of a mirror. You gaze at your reflection, and in that moment you realize that what you see before you is not just the body, the face, or the physical form. What you see is a reflection of your inner self, your thoughts, your beliefs, your assumptions. The world around you is no different. It is a mirror of the assumptions you hold within. The way you see yourself and the way you see the world is a direct reflection of the state of your inner mind. This is the truth you must come to understand. The outer world, the world of material reality, is shaped by the inner world of your thoughts, feelings, and assumptions. When you begin to realize this, a new world opens up to you. You begin to see that you are not a passive observer of the world around you. You are the creator. You have the power to shape your experiences, to manifest your desires, and to alter the very fabric of your life. It is the law that governs what you believe to be true and, ultimately, what becomes true in your reality. The law of assumption is simple. It states that whatever you assume to be true, with unwavering belief, will manifest in your life. This is the starting point of all manifestation. It is not enough to wish for something, to hope for it, or to desire it. You must assume it. You must assume that what you want is already yours. The feeling of already having what you desire is the key to unlocking the door to your manifestation. But here is where many fail to grasp the power of this law. They think that manifesting is a matter of begging the universe for what they want, of praying for it to come, or of hoping for some external force to bring it to them. They wait for signs, for opportunities, for the perfect moment. But the truth is that the moment you assume that your desire is already fulfilled, the universe responds. It is through the assumption of the wish fulfilled that the world around you begins to take shape according to your inner state. Let's take money as an example. If you want to manifest money, you must not beg for it. You must not plead for it to come. Instead, you must assume that you are already wealthy. You must assume that your bank account is already full, that your debts are already paid, that you have more than enough money to live the life you desire. When you do this, you align yourself with the feeling of abundance, and as a result, the world around you must shift to reflect this assumption. The key here is not to think about wealth as something that is coming in the future, but to live in the present moment as if it is already yours. The feeling of wealth must be present within you at this moment. Imagine yourself living a life of financial freedom. Feel the excitement, the security, the peace that comes with knowing that money is no longer a concern. Let that feeling fill you completely. Do not wait for your circumstances to change first. Change your inner state first, and the outer world will follow. It's important to understand that your inner state is what shapes your outer reality. The external world does not dictate your circumstances. Your thoughts, your assumptions, and your beliefs do. If you believe that you are poor, if you assume that you will always struggle financially, then that is what you will experience. Your assumptions create your world. This is why it is so important to be mindful of the assumptions you hold, especially when it comes to money and wealth. When you begin to assume that you are wealthy, when you begin to live in the feeling of abundance, you are changing the very foundation of your life. You are shifting your consciousness from one of lack to one of abundance. This shift is what allows wealth to flow into your life. But the key is to remain steadfast in your assumption. Do not waver in your belief that wealth is already yours. Do not let the world around you tell you otherwise. If you truly believe that you are wealthy, if you live in the assumption of wealth, then your outer circumstances must begin to align with that belief. It is also important to realize that the law of assumption is not something that you can turn on and off at will. It is a law that is always in motion, whether you are conscious of it or not. The moment you assume something to be true, it begins to take shape in your reality. If you are constantly assuming lack, scarcity, or struggle, then that is what you will continue to experience. But if you begin to assume abundance, prosperity, and financial freedom, those things must begin to manifest in your life. You must be consistent in your assumptions. This is where the practice of mental rehearsal becomes powerful. Mental rehearsal is the practice of vividly imagining yourself already living the life you desire. Imagine yourself enjoying the wealth you seek. See yourself making wise investments, living in a beautiful home, traveling to exotic destinations, and enjoying the freedom that comes with financial security. The more vividly you can imagine yourself living this life, the more real it will become to you. Your imagination is your most powerful tool. Through imagination, you create the inner feeling of having what you desire. And once that feeling is present, the outer world must align with it. You must also be patient. Many people give up too soon because they don't see immediate results. They assume something and then wait for the world to change, but when they don't see instant manifestations, they become discouraged. This is where faith comes in. You must have faith in the process. You must trust that your assumptions are working, even if you don't see immediate evidence. Trust that the world is beginning to shift, that the changes are taking place on a deeper level before they manifest in the physical realm. Keep assuming, keep imagining, and keep living in the feeling of the wish fulfilled. And soon enough, your external world will catch up with your internal assumptions. The law of assumption is not something you have to force. It is a natural process. When you live in the assumption of what you desire, when you feel as though it is already yours, the universe will respond. The key is to align yourself with the feeling of having, not with the feeling of wanting. When you want something, you are focused on the lack of it. But when you have it, you feel complete. You feel whole. This is the feeling you must cultivate. As you continue to practice this, you will begin to notice that the world around you starts to change. Opportunities will arise. The right people will come into your life. Unexpected sources of income will appear. This is the magic of the law of assumption. Your inner world will reflect in your outer world, and wealth will flow to you effortlessly. But remember, it all starts with your assumptions. The assumptions you hold today will create the life you live tomorrow. You are the creator of your reality, the master of your experiences. Everything that you encounter in life, everything that you believe to be true, is a result of the thoughts and assumptions you hold within your mind. Your world, the experiences you have, and the circumstances that unfold around you are a direct reflection of what is going on inside of you. This means that if you want to change your world, if you want to manifest your desires, the first place to begin is within. One of the most transformative powers you possess is the power of imagination. Through your imagination, you shape your world. It is your imagination that is the creative force behind everything that you see, feel, and experience. When you assume something to be true and you live in the feeling of that assumption, you begin to create that very thing in your external world. This is where mental rehearsal comes into play. Mental rehearsal is a powerful tool that allows you to consciously shape your inner world and in turn to influence and manifest your outer reality. When you mentally rehearse an event, an experience, or a situation, you are not simply imagining it as a wish or a dream that is far removed from you. You are living it in your mind as though it is already true. The key is not to think about the outcome, but to feel the emotions and the experience of that outcome in the present moment. If you want to manifest wealth, for example, your mental rehearsal should not be focused on wanting money or desiring wealth. Instead, it should focus on the feeling of already having it. You must assume the experience of wealth now, in this moment, as though you are already living it. Feel the emotions that would accompany that experience. Feel the joy, the freedom, the security, and the excitement. This process of mental rehearsal works because you are impressing these feelings into your subconscious mind. Your subconscious mind does not know the difference between what is imagined and what is real. It accepts the feelings and experiences you give it as fact. When you mentally rehearse an experience with strong, vivid emotions, you are impressing that feeling onto your subconscious. Your subconscious mind then begins to act upon those assumptions, and it will bring about the physical circumstances that correspond to those feelings. Imagination, then, is the bridge between your inner world and the outer world. Through imagination, you enter into the feeling of the wish fulfilled. You create the reality you desire by first assuming that it is already true and by living in the experience of it. The more you practice this mental rehearsal, the more real the imagined experience becomes to you. As you persist in living in the feeling of your wish fulfilled, your world begins to shift to align with that assumption. This is not something you need to strive for or force. It is the natural process that happens when you consistently live in the assumption of your desired outcome. When you practice mental rehearsal, you are conditioning your subconscious mind to align with the reality you wish to create. It is not a matter of forcing things to happen, but rather allowing the process to unfold naturally as you remain steadfast in your assumption. One of the most important aspects of mental rehearsal is the ability to feel as though your desire is already a part of your life. This feeling is the key. It is not enough to just imagine the desired outcome. You must feel it. You must feel the emotions that would come with having what you desire. When you mentally rehearse, allow yourself to be fully immersed in the experience of having what you want. Feel the joy, the relief, the satisfaction, and the excitement of already living the life you dream of. It is this emotional experience that impresses the subconscious mind and sets the creative forces in motion. As you continue to practice mental rehearsal, you will begin to notice shifts in your external reality. Opportunities will arise that align with your inner assumptions. People will show up in your life who reflect your beliefs and desires. Circumstances will unfold in ways that support your inner state of being. This is the law in action. Your assumptions, when supported by your emotional experience, become the blueprint for your external reality. Your world will begin to reflect your inner state, and what you once desired will begin to manifest. It is important to remember that mental rehearsal is not about forcing or trying to make something happen. It is about aligning your inner world with the outer world you desire. It is about living in the feeling of the wish fulfilled. The more you practice this, the more natural it becomes. You will begin to see the world differently. Instead of seeing limitations or obstacles, you will begin to see opportunities and possibilities. You will start to attract the circumstances, people, and events that align with your assumptions and your feelings. Patience is also an important factor in this process. Understand that when you practice mental rehearsal, it may take time for the external world to reflect your inner assumptions. However, this does not mean that the process is not working. It simply means that the external world is catching up with your inner state. Trust that the changes are happening, even if you do not see immediate evidence of them. The more you continue to live in the assumption of your desire, the more you will begin to see it take shape in your physical reality. Mental rehearsal works because it taps into the creative power of the subconscious mind. When you imagine yourself living the life you want, you are impressing those images and emotions into the subconscious. The subconscious mind, in turn, works to bring those desires into reality. Your assumptions are the seeds that grow into your external experiences. As you consistently assume the feelings of the wish fulfilled, you are planting those seeds in the fertile ground of your subconscious, and they will grow into the life you have imagined. The key to successful mental rehearsal is consistency and belief. The more you persist in mentally rehearsing the life you desire, the stronger your assumptions become. Your belief in the process must be unwavering. You must trust that your imagination is a powerful creative force that can shape your world. The moment you begin to doubt or waver in your belief, you disrupt the creative process. But if you remain consistent, if you continue to live in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you will begin to see the manifestation of your desires in your physical world. Mental rehearsal is not just about manifesting big desires or material goals. It is about shaping every aspect of your life. You can use this technique to manifest better relationships, improved health, greater happiness, and financial success. The power of your imagination is limitless. By mentally rehearsing your desires with emotion and belief, you are tapping into the universal creative forces that govern your life. Through this practice, you become the creator of your reality, and the world around you begins to reflect your inner state of being. The power you possess is greater than most people can imagine. The world around you is not just a set of random events or circumstances. It is a carefully constructed reflection of the inner workings of your mind. The life you live today is the result of the beliefs, assumptions, and feelings that you hold in your heart and mind. And just as you created this life, you have the power to create a new one. You are the creator of your reality, and your inner world is the key to shaping the life you desire. One of the most powerful tools you have in this process is faith. Faith is not just a concept that is spoken about in spiritual or religious contexts. It is the creative force that shapes the world around you. Faith is the unwavering belief that your assumptions and desires are true even before they appear in the physical world. It is through faith that you align your inner world with the world you wish to experience. The key to manifestation is not in waiting for external circumstances to change, but in maintaining the faith that your desires are already fulfilled, regardless of what is happening in the outer world. When you speak of faith in the context of creation, it is important to understand that faith is not about waiting for evidence to appear. It is the conviction that the world around you must conform to your inner assumptions. Faith is the belief that what you desire is already yours, even when there is no physical evidence of it yet. It is the belief that your inner assumptions have the power to change the external world. The moment you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you are planting a seed in your subconscious mind. That seed will grow, and the outer world must begin to reflect the inner assumption you hold. Faith works because it aligns your consciousness with the desired outcome. It is easy to believe in something when you see evidence of it in the physical world, but true faith is believing in something even before you see the evidence. Faith in your assumptions, faith in your ability to create the life you desire, is what transforms your world. When you have faith in the process of creation, you trust that your assumptions will take shape in your reality, even when there is no immediate evidence of it. One of the most important aspects of faith is its ability to remain steadfast in the face of doubt or external circumstances. It is easy to have faith when everything is going well, but the true test of faith is how you respond when challenges arise. When you are faced with difficulties, when the external world seems to contradict your desires, this is the moment when your faith is most important. It is easy to believe that you are on the path to success when things are going smoothly, but faith must remain unshaken when things seem to be going wrong. This is when the power of your assumption becomes most important. To truly manifest your desires, you must hold the faith that what you have assumed is already true, regardless of what is happening in the outer world. If you have assumed that you are wealthy, for example, but your bank account shows the opposite, faith is the ability to remain steadfast in the assumption of wealth. The outer world is a reflection of your inner world, and as long as you hold the assumption of wealth in your mind, the world must shift to match that assumption. It may not happen instantly, but it is happening. The more you trust in the power of your assumptions, the more quickly the external world will begin to conform. The importance of faith cannot be overstated. Faith is the glue that holds your assumptions together. Without faith, your assumptions are fragile, and they are easily swayed by the external world. But when you have unwavering faith in your own creative power, your assumptions become unshakable. They become the blueprint for your reality. The more you trust in your ability to create, the more powerful your assumptions become. And as your assumptions gain strength, the world around you begins to shift. To practice faith, it is essential to remain focused on your desired outcome and to hold on to the belief that it is already yours. This means not only thinking about your desires, but also feeling them as though they are already a part of your life. Faith is the ability to feel the emotions associated with your desire, even before the physical evidence appears. If you want to manifest wealth, for example, you must not only think about being wealthy, but you must feel it. You must live in the assumption of wealth as though it is already a part of your reality. It is through this feeling that you impress your desires upon your subconscious mind. The process of manifestation requires that you live in the feeling of the wish fulfilled. This is where faith comes in. Faith is the ability to hold on to the feeling of your desire even when there is no physical evidence of it yet. It is easy to give up on your desires when you do not see immediate results. But faith is the belief that your desires are already in the process of manifesting. The more you believe in the power of your assumptions, the more quickly your desires will appear in your life. When you trust in the process of manifestation, you begin to see the world differently. Instead of seeing challenges or obstacles, you begin to see opportunities. Instead of seeing limitations, you begin to see possibilities. The power of faith lies in its ability to transform your perspective. When you have faith, you see the world not as it is, but as it could be. Your faith allows you to see the potential in every situation, to see how everything is working together to bring you closer to your desired outcome. As you continue to practice faith, you will notice that the world around you begins to change. People will show up in your life who align with your desires. Opportunities will present themselves in ways you could not have predicted. The external world will shift to reflect the assumptions you hold within. This is the magic of faith. It is the force that aligns the inner world with the outer world. And it is through faith that you create the reality you desire. Faith is not something that is given to you from the outside. It is something that you cultivate within. It is the unwavering belief in your own creative power. When you trust in your ability to create, when you believe that your assumptions are true, the world around you must shift to reflect that belief. The more you practice faith in your assumptions, the stronger your ability to create becomes. The world around you is a reflection of your inner state, and through faith, you align your inner world with the world you wish to create. There is a law at work within you, a force so powerful that it shapes every aspect of your life. The thoughts you think, the feelings you feel, and the assumptions you hold in your mind are the very things that create the life you experience. You are the creator of your reality, and everything that appears before you, every person you meet, and every circumstance you encounter is a reflection of your inner beliefs. This is the fundamental truth that governs all manifestation. The world around you is not random. It is not a series of accidents. It is a perfect reflection of the assumptions you hold in your mind. The power to change your life, to manifest your desires, lies not in the outer world, but within you. It is in your inner state of being. The external world is simply a mirror of what you are assuming to be true. This means that the moment you change your assumptions, you begin to change your world. And the way to change your assumptions is through the power of imagination. Imagination is the creative force that molds your reality. Through imagination, you create everything that exists in your life. The wealth you desire, the relationships you seek, the success you crave, everything begins in your mind. It starts with a thought, a feeling, an assumption that you hold in your consciousness. When you imagine a specific outcome and you feel the emotions associated with that outcome, you are impressing that vision upon your subconscious mind. The subconscious mind does not question what it is given. It accepts it as truth. And when it accepts your assumption as truth, it begins to bring about the circumstances and events that will align with that assumption. This is the core of the creative process. It is not about striving, not about working hard, and not about hoping for something to happen. It is about living in the feeling of the wish fulfilled. The moment you assume that you already have what you desire, the creative process begins. Your inner world shifts, and as a result, your outer world must shift to reflect your new assumption. Imagination is the key to this process. It is through imagination that you bring your desires into existence. The act of imagining yourself living the life you want, or feeling the emotions associated with that life, is the first step toward manifesting it. You must not simply imagine what you want as if it is something distant and unattainable. Instead, you must imagine it as if it is already yours. Live in the feeling of already having it. Feel the joy, the satisfaction, the excitement that would come from living the life you desire. It is through this feeling that you impress your desire upon your subconscious mind. Once the subconscious mind accepts your assumption as truth, the outer world must conform to it. The subconscious mind does not distinguish between what is real and what is imagined. Whatever you impress upon it, it accepts as fact. Therefore, when you live in the feeling of your desire as though it has already come to pass, you are impressing that feeling upon your subconscious. The subconscious mind then works to bring your desires into reality. It will begin to shape your experiences, attract the right opportunities, and lead you to the right people, all in alignment with your assumption. The key to successful manifestation is persistence. You must persist in the assumption that your desire is already fulfilled. Even when external circumstances seem to contradict your assumption, you must remain faithful to the feeling of the wish fulfilled. The outer world will reflect your inner world, but this may take time. Do not let the current state of your circumstances convince you otherwise. Your assumption is the creative force. The more you live in the feeling of already having what you desire, the more quickly your external world will shift to align with that assumption. Faith plays a crucial role in this process. To manifest what you desire, you must have unwavering faith in the power of your imagination. You must trust that your inner assumptions are powerful enough to shape your reality. It is easy to believe in the power of your thoughts and feelings when you see immediate results. But true faith is the belief that your desires are already on their way, even when the physical evidence has not yet appeared. It is the belief that your assumptions are already in motion and that the external world is aligning to bring them to you. The challenge for most people is the tendency to focus on what they do not have, what is missing in their lives. When you focus on the lack of something, you are reinforcing the assumption that it is not yours. Instead, you must focus on the feeling of having it. Do not focus on what is absent. Focus on the emotions of already living the life you desire. Imagine yourself in the situation you want. See the details, feel the emotions, and live in the assumption that it is already yours. This is the key to bringing your desires into physical form. Imagination is not just about visualizing an outcome or wishing for something to happen. It is about living in the feeling of already having that outcome, already experiencing that life. This is the essence of the law of assumption, to assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. You must live in the assumption that your desire is already a fact, even when the evidence has not yet appeared. When you do this, the universe must respond. The external world will begin to reflect your inner state, and the circumstances of your life will shift to match your assumptions. This process may seem simple, but it requires a deep shift in consciousness. Most people are accustomed to looking at the world and reacting to it based on what they see. But true creation begins with you. The world does not create your thoughts create the world. The moment you change your assumptions, the world around you must begin to change. The more you practice this, the more natural it becomes to live in the assumption of the wish fulfilled. Your imagination is a powerful tool, and it is through the use of this tool that you shape your reality. The more vividly you can imagine your desires as already fulfilled, the more quickly they will come to fruition. The key is not to get caught up in the how or when of the manifestation. The moment you assume that something is already yours, you have done your part. The universe will take care of the details. As you continue to practice living in the assumption of your desires, you will begin to see your world shift in ways that align with your inner state. The people you encounter, the opportunities that come your way, and the circumstances you face will all begin to reflect the assumptions you hold. This is the power of imagination, and it is the key to creating the life you desire. Imagine for a moment that you are holding the key to unlock the life you desire. This key is not external. It does not come from the world around you, nor does it require you to wait for an external event or person to change. The key to your desires lies within you. It is the power of your thoughts, your assumptions, and your inner feelings. The reality you experience is simply a reflection of the assumptions you hold in your mind. When you shift those assumptions, your reality must shift as well. You have been given the incredible power to create and shape your world. This power comes from within, and it is guided by one fundamental principle. What you assume to be true with conviction and belief will become your reality. The assumption is not something that you merely hope for or wish upon. It is the feeling of already having your desires, and that assumption, when fully embraced, has the power to transform your life. When you begin to understand the immense power of assumption, you realize that your inner world is far more powerful than the external world. The outer world is but a reflection of your thoughts, beliefs, and assumptions. Therefore, to change your life, to manifest your desires, you must start by changing your assumptions. If you assume that you are poor, that you are unworthy, or that you cannot have what you desire, that assumption will be reflected back to you. But if you begin to assume that you are wealthy, that you are deserving, and that you can have everything you desire, that assumption will be reflected back to you as well. This is where the power of the law of assumption comes into play. It is not enough to simply desire something. You must live in the assumption that it is already yours. You must feel the emotions of already having what you desire, not as a future event, but as a present reality. When you assume that you are already wealthy, healthy, successful, or loved, you begin to attract those very things into your life. The key is to shift your consciousness to the feeling of the wish fulfilled, as though it has already happened. The most important part of this process is belief. Belief is the foundation upon which all assumptions are built. If you do not truly believe that you can have what you desire, it will be difficult to bring that desire into manifestation. Belief is not something that can be forced. It must be cultivated within you. When you assume something to be true and you believe it with your whole being, that assumption becomes a powerful, creative force in your life. The more deeply you believe in the truth of your assumptions, the more quickly they will manifest in the physical world. A key aspect of belief is that it must be consistent. Many people make the mistake of assuming something and then doubting it when they do not see immediate results. However, belief is a constant force. It is not swayed by external appearances, but rather it remains steadfast in the assumption that what you desire is already a part of your reality. When you waver in your belief, when you doubt your own assumptions, you weaken the creative force that is working to bring your desires into being. Faith in your assumptions must be unwavering, no matter what happens in the external world. The second part of this process is the feeling that accompanies your assumption. Feeling is the catalyst that brings your assumption into physical reality. The mind does not create through thoughts alone. It creates through feelings. When you think about your desires, you must also feel them. Imagine yourself living the life you want, not just as a thought, but as an emotion. Feel the excitement, the joy, the freedom, and the satisfaction of already having what you desire. The more vividly you can experience these feelings, the more real they will become to your subconscious mind. It is through these emotions that you impress your desires upon your subconscious, which then works to manifest them in the outer world. The process of assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled is not an intellectual exercise. It is not about thinking in a logical or analytical way. It is about deeply embodying the experience of already having your desires. When you feel the emotions of your wish fulfilled, when you live in that state of being, the subconscious mind accepts it as a fact. The subconscious does not question or analyze. It simply takes whatever is impressed upon it and begins to work to bring that assumption to life. You must remember that the subconscious mind is not concerned with the how of your manifestation. It does not need to know how your desires will come into being, only that they are already true. The how is none of your concern. Your job is to assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, to live in that assumption as though it has already occurred, and to trust that the universe will take care of the details. The more you focus on the feeling of already having what you desire, the more quickly your desires will manifest in your life. It is also important to understand that your assumptions must be in harmony with your deepest beliefs. If you assume something, but your underlying belief contradicts that assumption, the belief will override the assumption. This is why it is essential to address and transform limiting beliefs. If you hold beliefs about lack, limitation, or unworthiness, these beliefs will conflict with your assumptions and prevent you from fully embodying the feeling of the wish fulfilled. To truly manifest your desires, you must also align your beliefs with your assumptions. When your beliefs and assumptions are in harmony, the creative process becomes powerful and unstoppable. The universe does not respond to your desires as separate events. It responds to your state of being, your internal state of assumption and belief. If you assume that you are wealthy, healthy, and successful, the universe must reflect that assumption in your life. The external world is simply a mirror of your inner world. The more you live in the assumption of your desires as already true, the more the universe will bring you opportunities, people, and circumstances that align with your assumptions. Living in the feeling of the wish fulfilled is a practice that requires patience and consistency. You must continue to assume that your desires are already true, even if you do not see immediate evidence of it. Trust in the process and remain faithful to your assumptions. When you do this, you will begin to see that your life begins to change in ways that align with the assumptions you hold. The world around you will shift to reflect the state of your inner being. The beauty of this process is that it gives you complete control over your life. You are not at the mercy of the external world. You are the creator of your reality, and your assumptions are the force that shapes your experiences. The moment you change your assumptions, your world must change as well. The key is to live in the assumption of the wish fulfilled and trust that the universe will bring everything to you in perfect alignment. The world you experience is not something that is simply happening to you. It is the direct result of the thoughts you think, the assumptions you make, and the beliefs you hold within your mind. What you see around you, every circumstance, every event, and every encounter is a reflection of what you are assuming in your inner world. This is not a random occurrence. It is the law at work. The world outside is merely a reflection of your inner state of being. If you want to change your external circumstances, you must first begin by changing your inner assumptions. You are the creator of your reality. This is not an abstract concept, it is a law of nature. Everything that you experience in life is the result of the assumptions you have made about yourself, about others, and about the world around you. The key to manifesting what you desire, to creating the life you wish to live, is in the assumption. Your assumption is the seed that you plant in your mind. It is the belief that something is already true, even if there is no physical evidence to support it. The moment you assume something to be true, that assumption begins to shape your reality. The power of assumption lies in its ability to influence the subconscious mind. Your subconscious mind does not question your assumptions, it simply accepts them as fact. When you assume the feeling of your desire as already fulfilled, you impress that assumption upon your subconscious. Once that assumption is accepted, the subconscious mind works to bring it into physical reality. This process is natural and automatic, but it requires you to trust in the power of your assumptions and to live in the assumption of the wish fulfilled. The assumption of the wish fulfilled is the act of living as though your desire has already come to pass. It is not about hoping for something to happen or wishing for a change in your circumstances. It is about assuming that the change has already occurred. When you assume that you are already living the life you desire, when you live in the feeling of already having what you want, the world around you must begin to reflect that assumption. The key is not to wait for the outer world to change before you assume that it has. Instead, you must begin by changing your inner state. Assume that your desire is already fulfilled, and the world will adjust accordingly. This process requires faith. Faith is not simply belief, it is the conviction that your assumption is true, regardless of the external circumstances. When you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you must have faith that the external world will conform to that assumption. It does not matter what is happening around you. What matters is that you maintain the assumption that your desire has already been realized. The more you persist in your assumption, the stronger the creative force becomes. The outer world must eventually shift to reflect your inner assumption, but this may take time. Trust in the process and remain steadfast in your belief. The challenge, of course, is in not being swayed by external appearances. It is easy to be discouraged when your circumstances do not immediately reflect your inner assumptions. You may look at your current reality and feel that your desires are far from being realized. But this is the very test of your faith. The moment you allow external circumstances to dictate your assumptions, you are giving your power away. Instead, you must maintain your assumption of the wish fulfilled, regardless of what the external world may present. This requires you to hold a vision of your desired reality and to continue living as though it is already true. You must remember that the subconscious mind works in harmony with your assumptions. It does not question whether your assumption is based on reality or not. If you assume that you are wealthy, healthy, or successful, the subconscious mind accepts that assumption and works to bring it to fruition. This is why it is so important to assume that your desires are already fulfilled, even if there is no physical evidence to support it. The more vividly and passionately you live in the assumption of your desires, the more powerful the creative force becomes. You are planting the seed in your subconscious, and that seed will eventually sprout and bring forth the reality you desire. Imagination is the key to this process. Through imagination, you can create the world you want to live in. Imagination is not just a tool for daydreaming, it is the creative force that shapes your reality. The more you use your imagination to live in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, the more quickly your desires will materialize. This is where the true power of assumption lies. You are not waiting for the world to change first. You are changing the world by changing your inner state. You are assuming that the change has already occurred. And that assumption becomes the foundation of your reality. This process of assumption and imagination works for everything. It works for wealth, health, relationships, success, and any other desire you wish to manifest. The law is always at work, and it does not discriminate. It responds to your assumptions, regardless of what those assumptions are. If you assume that you are unsuccessful or unlucky, that assumption will be reflected in your life. But if you assume that you are successful and deserving of all that you desire, the universe will respond accordingly. When you begin to master the art of assumption, you realize that you are no longer a passive observer of life. You are the creator of your reality. You can choose your assumptions, and those assumptions will shape your life. The key is to remain consistent in your assumptions. Do not allow doubt or fear to creep in and alter your assumptions. Remain steadfast in the belief that what you desire is already yours, and the world will respond by bringing it to you. In the process of manifestation, it is important to remember that the outer world always reflects your inner state. If you want to change your outer world, you must first change your inner assumptions. Assume that your desires are already fulfilled, and the world around you will begin to conform to that assumption. This is the law of assumption at work. It is not a matter of wishing or hoping for something to happen. It is a matter of living in the assumption that it has already happened. When you live in this assumption, the external world must reflect it. It is inevitable. The law of assumption is not a distant or abstract concept. It is the living, breathing law that operates every moment of your life. Your thoughts, your assumptions, and your beliefs are constantly shaping your reality. The moment you change your assumptions, your world must change with it. You are not bound by your circumstances or your past. You have the power to create the future you desire, and it begins with the assumptions you hold today. You are surrounded by possibilities. Every moment of your life is an opportunity to reshape the world around you. This is not just an abstract idea or a hopeful notion. It is a fundamental law that governs the universe. The world you experience is a direct reflection of the assumptions, beliefs, and thoughts you hold in your mind. When you look around you, when you see your circumstances, your relationships, your financial situation, understand that they are not random occurrences. They are the result of your internal state, the product of your assumptions. Therefore, if you want to change the external world, you must begin by changing your inner assumptions. The key to this process is awareness. Most people are unaware of how powerful their inner world truly is. They go through life thinking that their external circumstances are the driving forces of their experiences, but the truth is that your external world is nothing more than a mirror reflecting the beliefs and assumptions you hold in your mind. When you change what you believe, the world around you must change to reflect that new belief. This is the foundational principle behind the law of assumption. The law of assumption states that whatever you assume to be true with enough conviction and belief will become your reality. It is not enough to simply hope or wish for something. You must live in the assumption that it is already true, regardless of what the external world may present. When you live in the feeling of your wish fulfilled, when you assume that your desire has already manifested, you are directing the creative power of the universe to bring that desire into physical form. Assumption is the key to creation. The moment you assume something to be true, the subconscious mind accepts that assumption as fact. The subconscious mind does not distinguish between what is imagined and what is real. It accepts whatever is impressed upon it as truth. When you assume that you are already wealthy, for example, the subconscious mind accepts that assumption and begins to bring about the circumstances, events, and people that align with that assumption. This is not a matter of force or struggle. It is a matter of alignment. The more you align your inner world with your desires, the more the outer world must conform to that alignment. The power of assumption is not a one-time event. It is a continuous practice that requires faith, persistence, and belief. You must continue to live in the assumption of the wish fulfilled, even if there is no immediate evidence of it. This is where many people falter. They assume something and then give up when they do not see results immediately. But the universe works in harmony with your assumptions, and it does not always manifest in the time frame you expect. When you remain steadfast in your assumption, when you live in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, the outer world will eventually catch up. The key to this process is faith. Faith is the belief that your assumption is true, even when external circumstances contradict it. Faith is not just a passive belief. It is an active, unwavering belief that your desires are already on their way. Faith in your assumptions is what allows you to continue living in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, even when the world around you seems to say otherwise. The more faith you have in the creative power of your assumptions, the more quickly they will manifest in your life. It is important to understand that the law of assumption works for everything. Whether you want wealth, love, health, or success, the process is the same. The key is to live in the assumption that your desire is already fulfilled. If you want to manifest wealth, for example, you must assume that you are already wealthy. Live in the feeling of having abundant wealth. See yourself already in possession of what you desire. Feel the joy, the security, the freedom that comes with financial abundance. This is the feeling that will impress upon your subconscious mind, and your subconscious mind will work to bring about the circumstances that match that feeling. One of the most powerful aspects of this process is the role of imagination. Imagination is the creative force that allows you to assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. When you imagine yourself living the life you want, you are creating that life in your mind. The more vividly you can imagine yourself already living your desired reality, the more real it becomes to you. Imagination is not just a fleeting thought or daydream. It is the act of living in your desired reality, mentally and emotionally. The more you engage your imagination in this way, the more real your desires will feel, and the more quickly they will manifest in your life. Yes, it is also important to understand that your assumptions must be in alignment with your deeper beliefs. If you assume something, but your underlying beliefs contradict that assumption, the belief will overwrite the assumption. For example, if you assume that you are wealthy, but deep down you believe that you are unworthy of wealth, or that wealth is difficult to attain, that belief will block the manifestation of your desires. This is why it is so important to align your assumptions with your deeper beliefs. When your assumptions and beliefs are in harmony, the creative force is unstoppable. This alignment creates a powerful force that brings your desires into physical form. The law of assumption is not something that requires effort or struggle. It is not about forcing the world to change. It is about aligning your inner world with your desires. When you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you are aligning yourself with the vibration of your desires. The more you align with the feeling of your desires, the more the outer world must reflect that alignment. It is a natural law that is always at work. The moment you change your assumptions, the world around you must change to reflect that new state of being. Your assumptions are powerful. They shape your experiences. They create your reality. The moment you change your assumptions, your world begins to change. The key is to consistently live in the assumption of your desires, regardless of what is happening in the external world. Trust that your assumptions are powerful and that the universe is working to bring them to fruition. The more you live in the assumption of the wish fulfilled, the more you will begin to see the world reflect that assumption. It is important to remember that you are the creator of your reality. The world around you is not something that is happening to you, it is something that you are creating. The power lies within you. You have the ability to change your life by changing your assumptions. When you align your inner world with your desires, the world must conform. The law of assumption is always at work. It is up to you to direct that power in the direction of your desires. The power to shape your reality lies within you. Every aspect of your life is a reflection of your inner thoughts, assumptions, and beliefs. The external world is not something that simply happens to you. It is a mirror that reflects the state of your inner world. By understanding and applying the law of assumption, you can begin to consciously create the life you desire. Whether it is wealth, health, love, or success, everything begins within your mind. The key to transformation is not in wishing for a change to occur, but in assuming that it has already taken place. The moment you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you align your inner world with your desires, and the universe will respond by bringing those desires into your reality. This requires faith, persistence, and unwavering belief in your own creative power. When you trust in your imagination, align your assumptions with your deepest beliefs, and remain consistent in living the feeling of the wish fulfilled, your world will begin to reflect those assumptions in ways that surpass your expectations. As you continue to practice and refine the art of assumption, you will find that you are not merely a passive observer of life, but a powerful creator shaping your experiences. The world around you will shift, opportunities will emerge, and your desires will manifest in perfect harmony with your inner state of being. Your assumptions are the seeds that create your reality. By changing your assumptions, you change the very fabric of your life, and the possibilities before you become endless. Remember, the power to manifest your desires has always been within you. It is not a matter of waiting for external circumstances to align, but a matter of changing your inner assumptions to reflect the life you wish to create. By mastering the law of assumption, you unlock the unlimited potential within you and become the creator of your own reality. Trust in this power. Remain faithful to your assumptions and know that the universe will respond in kind, bringing your desires into physical form in due time.